Hello and welcome to the HSL Simulation Webcast. I'm your co-host Shane Peddle, and with me is my co-host Alyssa Lapierre. We're going to start up shortly, and looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a shocking one. We have a SimMan 3G Plus. We're going to do some LiveShock. Super excited you're here. To waste away your next couple minutes, why don't you drop us a line in the chat? Let us know where you're from, how many inches of snow you have. If you don't have snow, how many inches of sand do you have? We also accept centimeters for our northern crowds and other countries. Anyway, we'll be with you shortly. Thank you again for joining in. Again, welcome to the webcast. We are going to be starting up shortly. And just a reminder to all, this is a live event, so there might be some stuttering. There might be some jingle bells, but hey, you're in the right spot. We're going to be starting up now in about 30 seconds. So here we go.
All right, Shane, are we ready to get started?
Absolutely. Amazing. Hello, Alyssa.
Hello.
It's been a long time again.
I know. I feel like we say that every time, and apologies to our loyal viewers, but thank you for joining us. And Shane, I think we have a few new names in the chat today that we haven't seen yet. And just an FYI, this is season 2, episode 6 of the HSL Simulation Webcast. This episode entitled "Shocking Around the Christmas Tree," very holiday theme. But Shane, what can we tell the viewers that have never joined us for one of these before?
Well, yeah, cool. So thank you. You're in a really cool spot surrounded by a really bunch of cool people. And I'm not talking about ourselves. I'm talking about all you fantastic simulationists out there. So what we do is we're for the people, the end users. We give you technical tips and tricks. And again, there's the live event. We're going to have a little stutter in here and there, but yeah, so we're going to show you some tips and tricks. We're also going to show you some new products that make simulation a little bit better for you. Little disclaimer, we do work for Laerdal Medical, so all the products and everything that we show here, we need to keep the lights on. So yeah, so we do a little bit of products placement and marketing, but we want to be a resource for all of our end users and our influencers and everybody that's involved in getting these massive learning objectives covered off. So yeah, that's kind of what this is all about.
I think that was a really good explanation. If you don't mind, I figured we might as well introduce ourselves for those of you who haven't heard of us or met us before. I'll start with myself, since you heard a little bit about Shane, and maybe you can guess what his background is in the chat. Hint, hint, a bit of a medical background, but I'm actually, so my name is Alyssa Lapierre. I am from Canada, originally from Quebec, Montreal, and I've worked with Shane, for about almost 4 years now. We've been working together. This webcast is definitely our one of our favorite projects that we do together to bring information to you. I specifically work as a product marketing manager in the Resuscitation portfolio, but I'm still very comfortable with the rest of Laerdal's amazing products. And then Shane, on the other hand, I guess, is more of the I guess, the medical expert in this webcast specifically.
No,
Again,
no,
we
now
definitely
expert,
have some
Alyssa,
watching us right now.
we're
Yeah.
gonna back up on the expert part there a little bit. I'll be your medical consultant, but please remember, follow your policies and guidelines wherever you are, and I'll guide you along with what I know, and yeah, for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I
Shane,
like the
what
specialist title. The
exactly?
expert
Yeah,
is
let's go with
I'm
simulation
still on the
specialist,
I'm still
not
on the
yet
learning
expert.
curve. Yeah. Excellent.
No, exactly. So
Cool.
Shane has a background in paramedicine, for those of you that may have guessed in the chat there. So he's definitely an amazing resource, but not only a simulation consultant, but also really comfortable with our technical side and our service side. So I think it makes for a well-rounded group here. But I think with that, I believe we can maybe talk a little bit about today's agenda, so we can jump right in. So for those of you, again, joining us for the first time, we like to just set out this agenda so we kind of can go about the objectives of today's episode and what we want to cover together. And if there's any questions you have, feel free to put them in the chat. We're definitely trying to monitor that as best as we can. And the great thing about the chat is not only we might answer the questions, but you have tons of networking opportunities with your colleagues there. So they might even answer a question for you. We have, I could see Dave Shablack, which was one of our guests on an episode last year, who has his own podcast called Sim Geeks. So he's definitely a really good resource in the chat as well. So starting with products and services, I think one of the big reasons everyone's here, Shane, is for the breakdown, I would say, of LiveShock versus ShockLink, SimMan ALS, and then 3G+. We're going to really dive deep into that and try to answer any of your questions. And then we're going to move into a service called Managed Services, which will be interesting to some of you, maybe brand new to others. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and how it could look for you. Then we have another section of our episode surrounded on hot topics, so things you should be in the know of. In this case, we're going to be talking about resuscitation workshops, which are a program that are ramping up for 2022, as well as some new products and improvements. So we have some new updates to ShockLink, one of them being the new pediatric rhythms that Shane's going to walk us through. Yeah. And some software updates, which we definitely talk about, I believe, most episodes. We try to keep you posted on what new Leap softwares are available.
Alyssa, you know what that's mostly because I'm trying to keep you off the naughty list.
Oh yeah,
Trying to keep
last
them
year
off
we
the
had
naughty
a
list.
nice and naughty list.
So I'm trying to keep you off the software naughty list. So when you call in tech support and they say, what version are you on? And you say 5 point something, they go, yeah. But yeah, let's get you on the nice list. Let's make sure you're up to date with all your software and your Windows updates. We probably will touch on again this in the new year, because that's always our New Year's resolution.
That's true. Keep your things updated and hope for that to solve problem number one, which they usually ask as the first question is what version you're on. So just a little tip there. Shane, so what can you tell us about Client's Corner? What can we expect from that?
Yeah, so Client's Corner is kind of like where we kind of really chill out. We really take the gloves off and we say, hey, do you have any questions? Not anything, it can be regarding the topic that we're on, but it also could be a question about any of the products that we have and any kind of support that you need. And we're really good at networking. We're really good at finding people either within our program or other simulationists, or and really getting in touch with them and getting some of the good solutions and good answers on best how to utilize these products and really maximize the impact. So that's where Client's Corner is. So stick around, because Client's Corner is a little open place, and you know what, there's a lot of people on. So if we don't get to all of them, we will 100% guarantee follow up with your question and see if we can find some answers for you.
Yeah.
Not too tricky now.
No, exactly. Be nice. It's almost the holiday season. So
yeah, no, we welcome everything. Bring it.
Yeah,
it's good.
For sure.
It's good.
Another really exciting part, which I think a lot of you, that's why I'm here too. No, I'm kidding. We're not a part of the giveaway, unfortunately, but we are going to give some things away potentially. So you might want to stay in until the end, because again, this is for people who are live with us. So we'll give a little bit of a breakdown once we get to that point, what it looks like, what the prizes are. And then we have a really nice closing message from Neil Weber, who is the president of Laerdal North America. He sent us a short video that we wanted to play for you at the end of today. So that's just a nice little, holiday wish from Neil. So without further ado, Shane, are you ready to finally get into it?
Yes, yes.
Right.
And I'm seeing all the comments coming in. We're reading them. Thank you so much. Karen, yes, I am a paramedic. I'm kind of chill with my paramedic. I'm no longer fighting on the front lines anymore. However, I applaud all of our healthcare workers that have been getting through this,
Mm-hmm.
and we can see some light, and then we get a little dim again, but then we can still see the light. So let's go. Thank you so much for everything that all you that you're doing, especially even the educators and the clinicians that are keeping the schools going, so that in 4 years'
Yeah.
time we're not looking for where did all of our nurses go. Oh yeah, COVID, right? Yeah, that thing. So yeah, let's dive in. So ShockLink versus LiveShock. So this is
Big question.
the two different things. So if you're ever wondering which kind of version should I go with, here's some great points, and I really want to talk about it. So ShockLink. So ShockLink is ideal for in-hospital, pre-hospital training. And there's some things that would really send you in the ShockLink direction, including some of the training pads are less expensive than the real ones. So that's good. Mannequin agnostic, so which means that you can use ShockLink on a different vendor's product. You can use ShockLink on our products. You can use ShockLink on a pumpkin or a Christmas tree or a drawing of a person on a table. This ShockLink can be used anywhere, that kind of stuff. And it doesn't say that in the DFU that you can put it on a pumpkin, but we're just going to go with that.
Yeah.
The ShockLink, if you're connecting it to your clinical defibrillator, it will require an adapter. It comes standard Phillips, but then you have to get an adapter to go with either PhysioControl or Zoll. So you can always reach out to your CE or ask to get one quoted. And last case scenario, send us an email, HSL Webcast at Laerdal. I actually think it's a HSL at Laerdal.com.
Yes, exactly.
So there's that. So that's reasons why you go with ShockLink. Now, LiveShock. Now, these are only going to be available on certain mannequins. And so the one we're going to concentrate on today is SimMan 3G Plus. So it's the new SimMan 3G Plus that just got released, and he's coming with LiveShock. And we really want to tell you and let you know about some of the guidelines. But what this does is this really enhances the realism of your simulation when it comes to defibrillation. You're taking your real clinical defibrillator, you're taking your real clinical pads, and you are shocking the simulator. So so that is something that we really started to look at in regards to the adult learners, and applying the real things without any adapters. And the cool thing is that every defibrillator will work this way. So there's no need for adapters or anything like that. So that pretty brings you into ShockLink versus LiveShock. So on the LiveShock, you can see right there the two red circles surrounding. There's like two external gold discs. And those discs are really important to stay clean. And then you have to get really good contact with that. So when we go into the product demo that I have for you, I can really show you how I enhance that and really make everything work the way that it should. So those gold discs then go down into a thermal resistor, which then absorbs the energy and dissipates it by heat. So we definitely like to remind people, don't shock more than once per minute. And if you go through any of the new ACLS guidelines, the algorithms don't line up, because after a shock now we're doing 2 minutes of CPR, and so that's always good there. So just be cautious that when you're using 200 joules, 360 joules, allow at least a minute for that thermal resistor to dissipate the heat to accept another shock. So that's just something to kind of think of there.
Shane, do you mind if I stop you? There was one question that I thought, and I apologize, I know there's quite a few questions in the chat, but one came up because I felt we could probably answer this maybe before even going into the demo. So the demo we mentioned is for 3G plus, but someone is asking if we can quickly just go over if there would be any differences if we were having the SimMan ALS LiveShock in terms of I guess, what that looks like.
That's actually, that's a brilliant question. And no, the gold disc will be the standard now for the SimMan ALS LiveShock. I just actually upgraded my old SimMan ALS, the one that I actually used ShockLink, and actually converted them over to LiveShock. So just letting you know that possibility is out there as well. If you have a SimMan ALS that is ShockLink and you want to go to LiveShock, that conversion is available. But no, essentially the LiveShock that's on the SimMan 3G Plus and the SimMan ALS is essentially the same in my visual inspection now. I could always go back to the technical team in Norway and really dive in a little bit deeper to find out if it's exactly the same. But they look very similar in my my inspection, or my last time working on SimMan ALS.
Yeah. And another quick question, just so we avoid any confusion off the bat. Someone's asking, can we convert SimMan 3G, not Plus, 3G to LiveShock? And if not, why?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a good question. And I'm going to definitely go back to my good friend, Nate Reitman. He is the product manager for that line. And I'm going to reach out to him and say, this is a fantastic question. Can someone tell me if this is possible? In the back of my head, as a field service engineer for Laerdal, I don't think I have work instructions on how to do that. So therefore, I'm thinking it might not be available. But for me to say 100% is not available, I'd be lying. So I'll reach out a little bit more on that one. That's a fabulous question.
Yeah, there's honestly some really good ones. It's hard to pick. But SimMan 3G, usually, as of right now, like if we were to do a mega code scenario with him, there is really no ShockLink. It's just, that's kind of, there's a few products that we have in our lineup that you can kind of control with Leap and integrate your defib through, I guess, what do we call them? Is it the same as the disc, the posts?
Yeah, the
so it's a little bit
posts.
different. Yeah.
And when I go into the sim lab, I have some defib posts there sitting on my bench. So I'd be happy to show you what
just
the posts
showing
look
the
like.
difference. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think this was, for me at least.
And I just seen a really good Shirley Jackson. Thank you so much for posting in there. You've had a lot of arcing and sparks when using LiveShock on 3G Plus. And that is exactly the question I'd love to see, and I'd love to address that today. So hold on tight, Shirley. Don't go anywhere. When I get into that sim lab, I'm going to show you how to stop all that from happening.
Yeah. So Shane, are you ready to head over, and we can maybe start talking about some of those specific guidelines actually
all right.
while you join us in the sim lab.
Perfect. Give me a minute and a half and I'll be there. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Shane. So Shane is just heading over to his sim lab right now, which is fully decorated to a very holiday theme for you guys today. So you'll enjoy that. But before he comes back on, this is some of the guidelines that we have around LiveShock and some of the best practices to kind of keep in mind when you're working with this product, specifically around disk and pad cleanliness and usage and things as such. So let's start with the first one being to keep the discs on the mannequins clean. So we're going to see that in a moment with Shane in the sim lab, but using mannequin wipes is a really nice way to remove residue that the pads leave on these discs. So more residue leads to higher impedance with this product. So ensuring that those are clean. And again, if you use the mannequin wipes, just ensure that those discs are clean prior to putting the pads back on. Using non-expired pads is also key. I know sometimes it's tempting to want to use the expired ones because they're available and potentially you'd think they'd be really good for training. But in this case, we're adding that realism here where you do have to use the non-expired pads. And this actually is one of the reasons that we've been seeing arcing and smoke. So definitely thank you for bringing that up. This may not necessarily be the reason that you were experiencing specifically, but just a little hint that this might be one of the reasons. So I believe Shane is on the other side.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent.
Awesome. So Shane, we were just covering some of the guidelines here regarding arcing and smoking, and we were actually at one that I wanted to cover with you because Shane has a really nice way of kind of giving us a little tip of how he keeps track. So one of the guidelines is you can actually use the same pads up to 10 times, but the caveat is that you have to be shocking with less than 200 joules.
200 joules or less, yeah.
Yes, sorry, less than 200 joules, so 200 or less. So Shane, what is your, I guess, tip for everyone of how you keep track that you've done 10 shocks, or what do you do that keeps it nice and organized?
Yeah, so I'm going to be using a Physio Control 12 today, and I do have a new pack of pads. Number one thing, they can't be expired. That once they start to expire, that gel becomes very dry, and it starts to cause problems, and we could see some arcing with that problem as well. So these are fresh, they're new. You know, like if lightly expired, you know, but again, if you start using those lightly expired pads and you see smoke or you see arcing, I really think that that's your problem there. But if you're still using new pads, I still got some other solutions. But when I use these pads, I use a Sharpie. And when I use the Sharpie, every time I shock with 200 joules, I make a little line on it so that I can know how many shocks have been through these pads. So any kind of shock less than 200, I'll mark a line. Usually around 10, that's when I'll start to look at the underside of the pads, and they'll actually be a little bit scarred. But that's just because we're at 10 shocks at least 200 joules. So those people using Zoll products, they go to 200 joules, but LiveShack, I know for this one here, I can go up to 360 joules. And if you do go up to 360 joules, these pads can only be used once. That's a lot of energy through this little pad. So that's another big note to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's actually the point right after. So again, after a shock of 360 joules, please do replace the pads. We can certainly send this maybe as a follow-up or on our resource page on the Laerdal landing page that we have for our webcast. If you haven't seen that yet on the resource library, you'll get kind of a link to it after this episode. And then the last two being, if you do experience smoke or arcing, again, Shane mentioned, replace the pads, clean the discs before the next session. And another important one is do not use additional gel. So Shane, what do we have to say about that one?
Well, I mean, I guess the manufacturer has put in the right amount of gel, the science, the chemistry, the physics of defibrillation, and they put in that right amount of gel. And I just wouldn't want to put in more gel and then that gel to be spreading out past the adhesive edges and then allowing for an arc to escape as well. So I think that's really, and it just really makes a big mess. So yeah, I would never go with extra gel for sure.
Awesome. Shane, so I'm going to stop sharing now and see if I could put you as the highlight video for everyone. You all might have access to make Shane your highlight video if you go into the view settings at the top and hit Shane as your spotlight video, but I will turn off my video just in case, so you have him nice and big there for you. So Shane,
not too big. I'm trying to cut down on my size, Alyssa. Not too big.
Okay, sorry.
Alrighty, let's. So what I have done. So I'm going to be using SimMan 3G Plus. So this is actually my first time that I got to actually be in the presence of him, and I see some huge differences. Wow, the face skins. But we're going to concentrate really on the defibrillation today. So his skins now are made out of silicone. And my good friend David Shablock from Sim Geeks, if you like to have more entertainment for your ears in regards to simulation, I definitely recommend them. Their last episode was actually on an axle, which was lots of good information right there. But silicone, what sticks to silicone? Silicone. So silicone dressings is your key. And why that is because that defibrillation pad, that adhesive is not going to stick to silicone. So we have to take a silicone base, stick it to silicone, change the surface here, and now the defibrillation pads will actually stick to them. And the cool thing is once you start to peel back these defibrillation pads, I know with these ones for sure, they come with this like nice little sticky back, so that when I want to just shock them once and then leave that scenario and then use these again, I could just take the silicone dressings, which will stick to this once I stick this on. That's going to take it with it. And this gives you some backing to put all this back on once you're finished.
Shane?
Yeah.
So you put those silicone dressings there. Did you cover that metal piece?
Good question. So no, that silicone dressing, what I did is I placed it over top, and then I used I used a scalpel that I bought at Michael's, and really crafted it out. Notice Michael's craft store. This we're not
sponsoring.
We're not sponsoring Michael's at no point, but yeah, no, I just cut a hole around there then, and then I just used a little bit of mannequin cleaning to just clean that gold disc to make sure that there was no extra adhesive on there from that silicone dressing. So I'm just taking my new pads and I'm applying them. There you go. Actually, I could have moved that one down a little bit, but I think that's good. All right, so that's all nicely sticking to that dressing. The new pads are on. They're plugged into my defibrillator. There we go. So I also have my 3-lead ECG hooked up as well, so then we can also look at some of the pacing features that we're going to be able to do.
Great. I think someone in the chat was asking about pacing and cardio version. So
yeah, so we're going to get right into that. I programmed a scenario into this mannequin, and I don't know if all of our simulationists out there know that with everything that we touch, that it almost becomes a button, and that button then goes back to the Leap PC, and then that Leap PC can register it as event. So I can actually make a scenario based on the buttons I push out here, so I don't even have to be in front of the laptop. My students used to love it when I joined them because then they think, oh, well, you can't do anything, you're not behind the computer anymore. As soon as they figured out that, oh, I'm the Confederate, I'm just going to hold my patient's hand, and I can use the radial pulse, the brachial pulse, femoral pulse, pedial pulses, dorsalis, tibialis pulse. I can use all those buttons, and they can actually trigger different events inside my scenario. So today, I got him in normal sinus here now. I'm going to hit his radial pulse here. And all of a sudden, this patient's now gone into SVT.
I'm feeling very dizzy.
I bet you are. I bet you are feeling very dizzy. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a synchronized cardio version. It's a narrow complex QRS. So I'm going to do a synchronized cardio version at 100 joules, just to, again, follow your local policy. This is not a medical teaching. This is for fun. We're going to shock him now here. So I'm going to bring my energy down. I'm just going to do 200. I'm going to do 100 joules. Charge. So my defib cable, everything is connected, everything's good. No big contact, everybody's clear. And shock delivered. So shock delivered is recognized. I have this scenario that once it recognizes a shock of 100 joules, and he feels better now. Yay. Even though I didn't give him much sedation for that shock, he probably would have been a little bit madder.
Cold turkey.
So now we got a normal sinus rhythm now. So that shock was delivered. So that was all good. The next one that we're going to do is let's try some pacing. So let's slow you down there, partner. Let's see. Okay.
Shane, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Please do.
So we had a question come in about anterior, posterior shocking. I know we're going to cover that in a bit, or I guess towards the end in our hot topics for SimMan ALS and that new configuration. Do we have any tidbits on the 3G plus?
Tidbits in
regards to anterior, posterior shocking?
Yeah, so we're going to cover that. For the SimMan 3G Plus, we're not going to be able to have that option. Right. But with the new SimMan ALS LiveShock, the new SimMan ALS non-LiveShock, so it's using the ShockLink system.
Yes.
We are going to learn that we can actually take those pads now and do an anterior posterior position with the SimMan ALS.
Yeah, so we're going to see that in a little bit. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there in case there was others that were wondering about anterior posterior.
Perfect. All right, so now I have a third degree.
Oh.
Okay, so
Oh,
we have a
good
Barfy,
stuff.
we have a Brady, and we also have a lot of sweating here now. We're
Okay.
seeing an AV third degree, an AV nodal third degree block. We're gonna say, and the blood pressure and everything. The other thing I really like about this SimMan 3G Plus, listen to me, I'm
Get
very excited about it.
Yeah, you love them.
So we have a non-invasive blood pressure cuff here connected. So this is connected into my LivePack as well. So now bilaterally, he can take NIBPs as well as pulse oximetry live to your clinical defibrillator with no adjuncts.
Nice.
So he's doing that all by himself. It is only available for certain defibrillators and certain clinical devices. So again, please reach out to your client executive or your field service team or anything like that. And we'll be happy to answer if your clinical device will pair up with the SimMan 3G Plus, but there's lots of different options there. So more than likely we'll be okay. So yeah, so let's start with a little bit of pacing. So I'm going to start my pacer. I'm going to start my pacer at 60, and I'm going to increase my milliamps. So now again, this is live going to my mannequin. And if I were to look on my leap, I would actually see what milliamps that I'm locking into. There we go. So I was just doing that as a little bit of fun, that once the simulator picked up that the pacing started, I just had a little bit of sound for all the pacing that he's going through. Again, I'm really sorry. I haven't given him any sedation. So that would definitely be recommended at this point before this patient got really mad at me. But I'm going to go ahead and turn off that pacer. But you can see the pacer spikes. I have electrical capture. I can go back now and check for mechanical capture. And this mannequin will actually do that, so that once we go over the threshold of the pacing capture, we can also then the femoral pulse will start to respond as per what the pacer is set at.
Right.
So that's that. So now let's take you out of that, my friend. And we're going back to the initial state. The last thing I was going to show you is I was going to do a full defibrillation so that we can see the 200 joules. So I have it programmed that if I touch the left femoral pulse, he goes into a VFib arrest. And again, this scenario is going to be free. It's going to be in the resource library of the Laerdal.com. If you go to the resource library and go to the HSL simulation webcast, this scenario is going to be dropped right there for you. So if you want to play with the scenario and see how I did it, you're going to be more than welcome to it. We also have previous episodes that we talk about how to create scenarios and really starting to use your leap to your advantage with a little bit of time. All right, so now we have VFib. I'm going to go ahead and let's go 200 joules. So again, I'm going to start to remember even what I did. So I shocked him twice, and now I'm going to hit him now with 200 joules. And here we go. So there's my VFib, 200 joules. I'm clear, everything's good. Yeah, there we go. Shock, no arc, there is no smoke. Again, it's all about how these pads are connected in and really using those silicone dressings on the SimMan 3G Plus. So yeah, so that's there, he's shocked, he's good. Well, he's not good. He's still in.
He's still in a little
he's
bit.
Still
of
in a not very happy rhythm here. I can always just move. And here's another thing that I'd really like to point out is when you design the scenarios in Leap, it's always good to print off a map, and that map is available in Sim Designer. If you hit print, you can save it as a PDF or print it off. And so now I can see that I'm in VFib arrest, and I can actually see that I actually made an error. I don't have the mannequin going from VFib arrest back into normal sinus rhythm. I'm going to go ahead and try to shock him one more time, because I do see that if I shock him at 200 joules, it should go back.
And I'll see if I could link our resource page for everyone in the chat in case you want to keep it for later. Again, as Shane mentioned, we have a really nice few episodes on scenario design for Leap, as well as a theme editor and SimPad. So if that's interesting for you, I will put those resources in the chat for you. Okay.
There we go. So
Oh, thank you.
that
SimMan
is
3G+.
my little bit of a product demo. Does anybody want to see anything else? Is there anything else you want me to show you? But when I was taking, while the chats are kind of filling in, how are we doing for time, Alyssa?
I think we can get going, and we can also take some questions. Whatever questions we cover here, we might take out of the client's corner, but that's okay because we have you live with us. So I'm just checking if there's any very pressing questions right now. There's a lot coming in. So
Glad this is all good. So if it's something regarding this, great. If it's something regarding something else,
oh, there's a good one actually. Since you were talking about scenarios, there's one saying, during the scenario, I can imagine learners will be pressing these pulses. How do you override this so they don't change the scenario?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll hang out down here at the lower leg, and I'll just tell the students that I'm the patient's advocate, confederate, and I'm just going to be here massaging their feet. So I actually just stay there and just hold the foot. And I just kind of slap their hands away if they want to come. If they ask me, what the distal PMS or the any kind of circulation issues, I usually just look at the foot, just say, oh no, it's good, or it's +2 or +3 or pitting edema, or so that's the only time that I will kind of deviate from making it realistic. But I like to be somewhere where I have at least 2 buttons so that I can increase things or decrease things just by the 2 buttons.
Okay, that's a great
Another one that I used to like to do a lot as well is that I'd be stabilizing the arm, and every time I touch the radial pulse, I have them scream, especially if they had a fracture over here and they were manipulating the arm. I just hit the pulse and he'd scream. So again, those buttons can be used for a lot of different things. Not only the buttons on the computer, but so much the buttons out here. Now, am I more impactful behind the computer? Absolutely. But if I'm just doing a very simple scenario, or I have the way just to build a ladder scenario so that I can go from this rung to this rung to this rung, or that rung to that rung to that rung, then these buttons become very useful.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading questions, so these are great. I guess, no, you kind of answered that one. Someone was asking what happens if you're working in the control room. So, I mean, if you have access to your LEAP computer, you're probably good to go.
If I was in the LEAP, if I was behind the computer, I wouldn't design the button technique here. I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it so much that I would just actually build buttons that said, okay, I'm given so much, especially with SimMan 3G+. Let's say if I'm giving like a drug like succinylcholine that not only has numerical vital changes, including respirations going to 0, but we can also do like defiscalitation with seizures. But we can actually design a button that you push that says, okay, I'm giving succinylcholine, and then that creates a trend as well as a physical property trend. So we can do that as a handler. So there's a little bit of education that comes behind that, but it's super, to me, that's where I get to tech and kind of geek out a little bit, is playing with those buttons and making a lot of things happen with little intervention by me.
Yes. And I think as a last question before we get you to come away from the SimLab, Shane, if you don't mind, I mean, we could both discuss this, but someone is asking that they still don't fully understand the advantage of LiveShock over ShockLink. And I think that's a really good question and way to pose it, because I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It also depends on how you're training, what product you're training with. We even have a solution, Shane, if you don't mind showing us, if you can't have any form of electric energy going through your SimLab, we do even have a simulated defib on the LEAP monitor that Shane can show us in a second. So really, I wouldn't say LiveShock or ShockLink, one is better than the other. We have different options for different products. And we can also share that information if you wanted to reach out to your client executive, or reach out to us at Laerdal, at HSL@Laerdal.com. I'll put that in the chat as well. And we can kind of walk you through what makes most sense for you. Shane, sorry, I'll send it back.
This is all great. So I restarted my scenario again, and so I got a normal, healthy patient. As long as you have the newer software, if you're still back in 5 and 6 of LEAP, you're definitely going to need to come forward. So for those people that have like an older, older than 2016 SimMan 3G, you're not going to really want to come past Leap 7.3. But in that version, you will get this defibrillator monitor. So this is a huge add-on. I love this piece. This is really good for those educational institutions, hospitals, where you don't want to actually provide live energy. We can actually do a simulated live energy through the virtual defibrillator. So again, if we press on the 3 buttons up here, we have 3-wave, 4-wave, 5-wave. Some of the other ones that I've created, a HSL monitor and have that in the background. But there is one down here called the monitor defibrillator. Now check that out. Now that defibrillator kind of really looks like a physio, but I'm not saying it is. It could be Philips, but it still has the basic concepts of 1, 2, 3, changing your leads. There's the pacer. There's the ability to change it. Change your rate on your pacer, your milliamps output for your pacer, and we also have the button there to sync. So I can just turn all this on. I can do the blood pressure down here on the defibrillator, or sorry, we're not using the defibrillator. We're going with the clinical virtual monitor up here. So we can turn all that on, and now let's make him go into that SVT again. There we go, and he's gone into that SVT, so I can recognize that. You do, and this is not going to hurt you like the other one did, right? And it didn't hurt him. Again, it goes into that thermal resistor down the bottom, but I'm going to say 100 joules. We're going to synchronize, so we're seeing the little markings showing us where it's synced, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the energy to 100. Well, that's 70. There we go, 100 joules. We'll hit charge. There's that same delay, that same sound that we're looking for. All right, so this is a synchronized cardio version, so I'm going to have to actually press and hold, just like a real one. Nope. There we go, delivered, and now we've gone back into normal. So the virtual monitor will as well. Perfect. That virtual monitor as well will interact with your LEAP pre-programmed scenarios. There is one major difference. So I'm going to bring him back into my healthy patient. There we go. We're back into the initial state. And now we're going to go back into Brady. Now, the only big difference is that virtual monitor won't give the mechanical output, but it will still give you. All right, you're okay now? All right, you're still sweating. All right. So we can actually turn on the pacer here. We still have the ability to change the rate. We still have the ability to change the output. So I'm just going to, I kind of know the secret of what the threshold is. So, yeah. Sorry, there's some sedation. There you go. And so now when I go back, I should be feeling a pulse of 60 or whatever my pulse per minute is set. But unfortunately, with the virtual monitor, that hasn't linked yet. We do have that ticket put into our Denmark team, software team, our Norway team, to see if we can kind of find a way to link. But mostly that's going to be defibrillator generated. So that's the only thing, is you're going to get excellent electrical capture. However, you're going to be missing out on that mechanical capture. So there's just a couple ways around that. One of the things that I do is once I have virtual electrical capture, I'll then just set his pulse with pacer capture. I'll set his pulse to 60. And so then it will match up with what they have captured. And I kind of like that way better because of the fact that I always used to teach in my teachings, get your electrical capture and then go up by 10%. And so that allows, if they didn't go up by 10%, they still wouldn't have mechanical capture, they'd have electrical capture, which I don't know if it could really happen in my pretend world. I haven't seen it clinically, but in theory, I guess there could be something there. But anyway.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Shane. This was really, I think, a lot of nice tidbits that people didn't know about, like the simulated defib, which is a nice one. And with that, I think we'll let you come back to the other side. Perfect. And that sounds kind of funny, but yes, and we will continue on with the rest of today's topics. So I will just let you come back and I'll share my screen again. So I will turn on my camera and hopefully you see me, and I will head back to sharing my screen. So All right. And I know we do usually go a little bit over the hour. So if you're willing to stay with us, it's amazing. If you have to jump off, remember these are recorded and you will get the on-demand version either early next week. Tomorrow is Friday, so probably early next week. But again, we shared the link to our resource page if you wanted to go watch other episodes. And with that, let's get into managed services. So managed services is I guess a service that we've had for some time, but a lot of people don't know about it. And it's a way for those to get started who may not have necessarily the resources to invest on the front end and maybe struggle a little bit with starting simulation to a specific level that they're looking to attain, or have certain curriculum needs or certification needs that require a little bit of help. So why do we do this? So as we know, a lot of you that are with us, simulation is a powerful tool for improving the quality and safety of our healthcare delivery. However, there's obviously logistical and technical obstacles associated with deploying a really optimal simulation program. So managed services allows you to not only maximize efficiency, but drive sustainability and even standardized training across your learners. So who would this be great for? We think that organizations that are looking to verify competence, whether you're looking to have a group of docs come back and get evaluated on competence like sedation procedures, emergency airway preparedness, and obstetrical certifications and competence verification. Organizations are looking to collect data on these simulations and evaluate that competence to then deliver certifications to their clinicians, or even organizations that are really just wanting to get started in simulation but don't necessarily have the staff, the fleet of simulators, or just the resources to handle high turnover, new technicians coming in. So this is a really great solution for that. So what do these services really offer? So one of the main things is the simulators. So one of the parts of this managed service includes the technology, the LEAP software that is included with that. So everything that really makes the simulators work. The other great part is operators and technicians. So someone like Shane doesn't necessarily do this, but someone like Shane who has a really strong technical background in our simulators know how to build scenarios, and can really operate these in a super efficient way, as well as scenarios. So a programming solution that ensures that the quality of your simulations and the needs are met based on what your objectives and outcomes are. So with that, I do have a short video that we wanted to play just to kind of put everything together and into perspective. So I'm just going to let this run. And if there isn't any sound, please let me know. I do have my shared sound on, but write in the chat if you...
Hospitals have discovered simulation can be used to help improve patient safety. Nursing schools are addressing clinical placement and clinical quality challenges, and long-term care facilities use simulation to meet the needs in the changing reimbursement environment. Despite the many rewards, some organizations still struggle with implementing or sustaining an effective simulation training program. Some of the challenges include difficulty proving return on investment, maintaining competence in using the equipment, getting buy-in from leadership, and managing ongoing equipment maintenance and software updates. All these challenges must be contended with when building a simulation program. That's why we created Laerdal's Managed Services Program to help break down those barriers that can hinder results. Laerdal's Managed Services Program provides simulation resources and assistance that allows rapid deployment of simulation initiatives. No matter what your curricular needs, we can deliver the appropriate turnkey training solution that will help you prove a fast return on investment and produce measurable outcomes. With our Managed Services Program, we bring a flexible and sustainable solution that can meet unique training needs to ensure an organization's success. This full-service program can deliver a complete mobile simulation solution, where Laerdal will deliver, unpack, set up, operate, and remove all the equipment needed to facilitate your simulations and even assist in the development and implementation of your content. or is entirely customizable and can bring any combination of simulators as a service, a technology solution that ensures sustainability of equipment. This eliminates the need for dedicated space to store or resources to maintain simulation equipment. Simulation operators as a service, a staffing solution that ensures qualified staff to run simulations. Laerdal will provide a professionally trained operator who will lead the on-site logistical support of Laerdal equipment and will run your scenarios. This eliminates the need to onboard a full-time staff member to facilitate your simulation training and allows your educators to focus on teaching. Scenarios as a service, a curricular solution that ensures quality simulations that meet your learning objectives. You may choose from a selection of expertly programmed scenarios, or Laerdal can program your identified scenarios, saving your team countless hours in designing and validating your patient cases. Giving you the ability to choose from any combination of these services is what allows us to deliver the ultimate flexible and sustainable solution. Laerdal's Managed Services program is important to the success of your organization because it reduces operational risks, improves cost management, and simplifies training initiatives. Through a consultative approach, your Laerdal representative will help design the Managed Services program that meets your organization's needs.
All right, so that was a little bit of about managed services in a nutshell. We just wanted to kind of put this out there as we've had requests for this kind of service and just making sure that everybody is aware in case it could apply to you or be helpful to you. So we did put a QR code here in case you have your phone on you and you wanted to link to the managed service page and learn more. Otherwise, you can feel free to contact Shane, myself, or even your local representative if you know who that is. So moving on to our next section, Shane, which is the resuscitation workshops. This is a program that you might be hearing a little bit more about moving into 2022. These are programs that have been running for the last few years, although the pandemic definitely took a hit to this because, again, we couldn't do things in person. But as we ramp that up, you might be hearing more and more about this. So we called them Santa's resuscitation workshops for the purpose of this episode, but they're not Santa's, don't worry. There are resuscitation workshops and they're built around building high performance CPR teams. So we do not have elves, just as a disclosure, that will be running these workshops. It will be our regional channel managers, if you're familiar with them, a great group of really, really awesome people who run these workshops. And let's learn a little bit more about them. So these are designed to help organizations, departments, and agencies improve team performance, specifically in resuscitation, to help increase survival rates from out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. So what can you expect from a workshop as an attendee? So you can, you'll learn how to use science-based measurement, assessment, and feedback to improve CPR skills as a baseline. You can plan for team roles, responsibilities, and processes using simulation. You'll learn how to simulate the change in environment to develop situational awareness for your teams, foster assertive patient safety-centric communication. And also, because we do have often different agencies and groups joining these workshops, it's a really nice way to network, but also change teams or environments to promote adaptive behavior within these high-performance CPR teams.
Yeah, so I mean, let's just go back to one of the HSL webcasts that we just did. Yeah, if you want to go back through previous, we actually had Mr. Mike Helbach on from the Resuscitation Academy, talked about high performance CPR. This is kind of like a workshop for that. Is that what this is, Alyssa? So
the Resuscitation Academy, they actually do a form of this workshop within, the Resuscitation Academy. So they do a lot of things quite similarly in terms of they use, actually as a standard, they do use the Resuscitation QCPR. They use our QCPR technology with SimPad. So it is quite similar, but we actually partner a lot with some distributors or customers, agencies. One really great example is Davy Fire. down in Florida was one of the pilot groups that we ran this with, and they actually adopted the high performance CPR training program within their agencies and saw a really big improvement in ROSC rates, which we'll look at in a second. But there's some good benefits, and I also see Karen wrote, can these programs be used for PRN? So I'm hoping you're talking about this. If not, please correct me. But I also just want to mention, since we're on this page, who this can apply for and who these workshops are built for. So people might think, oh, EMS, fire, law enforcement, dispatcher, but really hospitals are included. I mean, you should hopefully be training for these types of events as well. And cross training is so important. Working with your local EMS.
Alyssa, but wait, this is sounding good, but
too good.
Yeah, but like, what do I gotta have in my bank account to be able to afford a resuscitation workshop?
Question. Yeah, they are quite expensive.
Yo, there's the money.
Yeah, so the workshops, which is, I guess, an added bonus, is that they're free. They're really around building this concept and working with you guys to enable a change in
save lives.
Save lives. Really,
that's
the goal.
This is right up our mission, like help save more lives, right?
Yeah.
So the workshops are free. This is ways for you guys to save lives in your communities. This is a way for us to help save lives by getting this workshop. So this is a big circle and a really awesome way to cause like cultural CPR, bystander CPR. So
yes. And I see someone's asking, where do we sign up? So great question. If you, so if you guys want to email us, actually, Shane, do you mind putting hsl@laerdal.com in the chat for everyone? Please email us. We are, again, I said this program is rolling out and expanding in 2022. So we will have a landing page for it on our website. We will have a way to sign up directly from the website as well. But for the time being, I can definitely put you in contact with the team that runs these. And they've had such success with quite a few. Actually, they ran one last week, actually, Shane, Kathy, with Master Medical Equipment.
Yeah, I just seen her post on Facebook. It awesome pictures, awesome job. Yeah, so it was on LinkedIn.
Definitely, still going. We're just ramping up to open it up to a bigger audience because we were more so in a little bit of a pilot there. Pretty cool. And just as a kind of to give you a little perspective on the impact so far. And again, this is fairly new and we kind of had to halt during COVID, unfortunately, even though this is such an important part of survival, obviously, but we've delivered 66 workshops, which translates to 379 departments trained, over 6,000 participants trained, and ROSC rates have reached upwards of 48%. So this is a really big kind of overview of the impact that they've brought so far to the agencies that have been involved. So if you're interested, again, contact your local CE or Shane and me. We'd be happy to put you in contact and potentially get your organization involved in one of these really fun events. So.
And hey, if you're in some tropical island somewhere beautiful, I would love to learn how to do a resuscitation workshop and deliver it to your because I have snow, I have cold.
Somewhere warm, maybe outside.
Yes, please.
All right, Shane, I'm gonna hand it off to you for our last portion before we get into Client's Corner.
Cool. So this is a big thing that I've always heard about ShockLink is there was no pediatric rhythms. Well, we have, you have said, we have heard, and now they are there. Unfortunately, we cannot do the magic on the remote. However, you're going to find that the app that's on your Android or on your iPhone or wherever you have access to the Google Store or the Apple Store, you're going to be able to get this app. That app is a ShockLink. It is free. There's no charge for it. So just go and grab that. I find that the app works better than the actual remote, because the remote is line of sight versus the app uses a little bit of Bluetooth there to help us out. I find I get more distance. Please, throw it in the chat box if you find the same thing, or if you find something different. But I've always found the app was better. And now the app is even better again, because it has those new child and baby rates that we couldn't achieve before. So thank you so much for bringing that out. That's a big add-on. The other thing that you're going to find with the SimMan ALS, if you have a SimMan ALS that is not LiveShock, when you get a new skin come in a preventive maintenance, or you order a new skin, the pads are now changed. Before they were like little tiny plates that were underneath the skin, but instead what they're doing is there's better connectivity. There's also the ability to change from an anterior posterior position, as you can see there in the picture 3B. Down in 3A, we have the typical like the apex and the lateral one there. But you're going to see that they plug in, and this is the only difference, is that instead of having the plates, they're just using an upside down version of the ShockLink, and then your ShockLink that gets then sandwiched on between. I think we can see a picture of that there on the right there, where this is using an adapter into a ShockLink, and then these pads, you can see that the dotted lines are the ones that are underneath, and these pads just go on top, and that's how they're able to communicate the rhythm. It's also how they're able to communicate that bradycardia. So pacing is still a very viable option. Our mannequins that do this is like SimMan ALS does this way, Sim Baby does it this way. So just to keep that on the lookout if you get a new skin come. Change is not always bad, especially where now we have the ability to change the placement to what we want versus what was stitched into the the skin. Yeah,
awesome. Thanks,
cool.
Shane. And I know you wanted to quickly go over the
it's not a webcast unless we say we keep you off the naughty list. So there's your Leap software is now at 8.0.1 as of today's date. SimPad Plus and LinkBox Plus is at 8.0.3. Your SimPad Classic and LinkBox Classic, remember that this is end of life, December 31st, end of life. The newest software that you can put on these is 7.4.5. And then if you have a patient monitor with Leap, you want to keep it to that lower version so that these will connect without a problem. That's 7.3.0. ThemePad Editor is now new and released over the last couple of months, and that's because there was changes to Silverlight and some of the ways that we operate Theme Editor. So bear in mind, if you have the old Theme Editor installed on your computer, you're going to want to go back onto the Laerdal products page, go down, find SimPad, and then find the Theme Editor link there, and the one that's 1.3.1. So that's that one. So that brings you up to date with all the software. We better get moving on because we're coming really close. I know people got to go.
We would do the giveaway now. What do you think?
Yes, I think a giveaway now.
Probably some people.
Yeah, if you can't stick around, let's do the giveaway now since everybody's here.
Perfect.
And if we have time, if you have time, then stick around for the Client's Corner. So let's. You got a wheel?
I do, Shane. So before we start, I'll just lay out a little bit of a ground rule.
Yeah, right. What's the prizes?
We did have people on before who had to drop off. So again, this was one of the only caveats to win, other than your name being drawn, is that you had to be here. So we do have a large list, probably larger than what we're seeing right now in terms of people still with us, which is totally fine. But if your name jumps up as the winner, please put present in the chat so we know you're here. Otherwise, we'll move to the second person and kind of see who wins from there. So we'll have one winner who will have three options. You can only choose one, unfortunately, but we figured these could be some nice options to get started. So I'm going to share my Wheel of Fortune.
While you're bringing up the wheel there, I just wanted to mention that there is a lot of questions in that Q&A. This is a larger crowd than we're used to, and we're going to find ways to do better and get better at this, but we will get back to you. And even if it's an email, if it's a phone call, we will be in touch. So I see 19 questions in the question and answer. So just bear in mind, I'm going to be quiet now, but we're going to get back to them.
Everyone's like,
let's get to the prizes.
Prize. All right. So if your name pops up, please write present. Otherwise, we will move within 5 seconds to the next person.
Here we go.
Let's see. All right. Do we have a Vanessa Acock? Oh, this is the moment.
We're waiting to see if she's here. Post up in the chat.
All right. I don't see anything.
All right, let's spin her again. We'll keep.
Too bad,
I'll
so
keep an
sad.
eye
Next
on it. I'll keep
person.
an eye on.
Yeah. Let me know.
We still got a second prize. We got 3 prizes. So let's do. Who's this?
Harvey
Parker.
Parker.
Are you here?
No.
Nothing in the chat.
All right.
Wow. Oh yeah, Harvey Parker's here so he gets
Oh.
gift number 1. So
All
this
right.
is for
What's
gift number 2.
Yes. What's
Harvey.
your choice?
Cool.
If you wanted to write your choice down, let us know. And we have
Michael
a Michael
Party.
Ooh, that's a cool name, Michael.
He wants option 2. Harvey Parker wants option 2. So the little HSL is gone. The gift is gone. It's like Secret Santa. Do we have a Michelle Party? Michael? No, Michael. Michael. So we still have 2 more gifts. So let's spin the wheel again. I'll keep on watching for Michael to pop up. But if that new name pops up, let's see what happens. Michael, are you there? No. Michael, someone else is going to get your prize.
Oh,
Greg Batter. Greg, are you here?
Oh,
Aha, Greg is here.
all right.
Awesome. So Greg, I think we have a ShockLink system available or a gift card for, so option 1 is the ShockLink system.
Yeah.
He wants the ShockLink system. He's going with door number 1.
Amazing.
Excellent. So,
all right.
who wants free $50? I do.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Yeah. Congratulations is right. That's a good one. ShockLink's a good option. Little HP-CPR is a great option. And here's just for some.
Paula. I know Paula.
Paula Creamer, are you here?
I know she was here. She might have left.
Yay, Paula's here.
Yay.
Paula, you get $50 on
Amazing.
Wait, now, is that going to be, wait now, Alyssa.
Yes.
Is that $50 Canadian or $50 American?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's on American Express, though. I think we can do American Express. I think we can do USD, even though that's like $80 billion Canadian. But we'll figure out the conversion and we'll make it. Congrats to all the winners there. That's awesome.
All right, so I'll share back the prizes here. So for our winners, we have gotten a ShockLink system, a little HSL, and a $50 gift card. Wow, I'm jealous. These are some really good prizes.
Shabby, thanks so much for joining in, brother. Have a great one.
All right, so I guess what should we do first? I guess we could always filter questions later. Did we want to go to Neil's message?
Let's play Neil's message, and then we're going to do Client's Corner, and we'll stick around as long as you got questions.
As long as you guys got questions.
Well, I mean, there's a certain time that I have to feed kids and stuff.
Yeah, we have a recording, so we'll get that to you. All right, so I will make sure my sound is on. Yes, it is. Perfect.
All right.
So this is what Neil has to say.
Hey folks, I'm Neil Weber, President of Laerdal North America. First of all, I hope you really enjoyed the latest Helping Save Lives webcast. The team does a fantastic job every time with those. Secondly, I want to acknowledge all the great work that you, our customers and partners, have done over the past year. Clearly, we have made progress against the threat of COVID-19, but I think we'd all acknowledge we have a long way to go. And I just want to reinforce that we are here for you, hoping that we continue to make progress and we have even better days ahead.
Wow, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, we all wish you happy holidays, some great time with your family, and maybe a few simulators, who knows. But with that, I think we can probably head back to the Client's Corner and see if we can answer some any questions. But again, feel free to hop off if you have to. This is recorded, so you can always come back to watch the questions that were answered. Shane and I might just discuss what we have there, so you can kind of hop off and we'll go over what's in the Q&A right now. How's that, Shane?
I think that's a great idea. Thanks again. Happy holidays, everyone. Congratulations to our prize winners.
Yes,
we'll be reaching out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll be reaching out to you and find out what's the best address to send your prize.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's does anybody that actually sticking around right now, so other than the ones that we have in the Q&A, is there anybody that's still online right now that has some questions for us that we can answer live?
Mhm.
Maybe simulation induced questions though. Not too many questions about life. Thanks to all. Greetings from Columbia. Columbia's College, Columbia State, Columbia University.
Colombia.
Colombia. Nice.
Colombia.
Thank you so much. Oh, Sur America. So Alyssa is going to be your friend because she will definitely be able to converse with you.
Sí, gracias por venir.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fozard. So glad to have you on board, brother.
All right, Shane. Well, maybe we'll start with what's
Yeah,
in
let's do the
Q&A.
questions and answers.
I
in
know
the
we
Q&A.
had gracefully Dua and David answering some Q&A questions, but I feel like
Awesome.
there might be a few we missed. So thank you guys
so much.
All right, so let me know and I can type them in here if needed.
All right, so I'm going to open up the Q&A and I see that. So I have the same question. Okay, let's see. Open. I have the same question. So as you stated, we've been told by Laerdal that ShockLink pads can be placed on any inanimate object. However, we found pads don't work unless there's an internal receiving ShockLink pads. Have we been misinformed or is there a user error? So I think what's happening here is when you apply, you have to use the remote. And if you're still on, Hannah, I'd really like to know, because the remote is going to be the key, because the remote is going to be able to tell you, tell the shock link that then sends a message to the defibrillator showing what rhythm it is. So the remote is definitely key, making sure that that battery is placed inside that compartment correctly. So when you remove the little white circular round object that holds the battery in, there's a picture of the way that the battery goes in. I think it's positive down. So always go back to the picture, but I think it's positive down. And then when you close that, you should see like a blue and white light. And then you should be able to use your remote to change the rhythm. And then it doesn't matter. The pads don't even have to be attached to anything. You have to, there is a button there that says pads connected correctly. And that's something that I even miss out on sometimes, where I'm looking and there's nothing coming up on my clinical defibrillator or monitor. Sometimes there's a pads with a check mark or a pads with a cross. Make sure that you turn that on. That's telling the shock link that the pads are on correctly, and then it sends the message to the defibrillator, because if the pads are not on correctly, it won't send a message. So let's see if that's the problem.
Great
and if
question.
that's not the problem and that doesn't fix the problem, then we need to address it. We'll get another email going. We'll have some fun with it, and we'll find something really fun to shock. But yeah, no, I've shocked tables. I've shocked like a picture of a patient on a table. I did that with some kids because I didn't want to have live energy around them. So I used the ShockLink instead. It was really cool. And we were actually experiencing that, kids in grade 5 could, without any instruction, get a defibrillator onto a patient and shock a patient within 2 minutes.
That's good to know for AED.
That's without any instruction, and then that's just following pictures and doing some pretty cool stuff. One group actually did it in 46 seconds.
Oh, that's okay. Go them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Any
cool.
other dire questions that we have?
So I see, let me see here. I see Dua answering a lot of questions in reference. So this is from Mike Cullen Mensberger. If that's not how you pronounce it, I'm really sorry. I'd love to learn how to say that one. That's in reference to 3G plus, we are using Zoll defib with anterior posterior placement. Okay. The discs are not in those positions, correct? Yeah. So what can be done to use those pads? That's a brilliant one. So what I would do there is I'd get a ShockLink system so that you could put your ShockLink on your mannequin and then simulate. So I'm thinking that if you're going anterior posterior, you're probably doing a synchronized cardio version. Or if it's just your region's preference, I would kind of the ShockLink, the 3G plus with the LiveShock will still be an option. But now if you brought ShockLink into the system as well, you could actually just hit SVT on your app or on your remote, and then you can just shock them. Just remember, you're going to need a Zoll adapter to be able to connect that Zoll monitor to the ShockLink system that comes standard Philips. That's a good question. They're all good questions.
Yeah, they are all good.
This is Paul Falanga. Alyssa, you should be reading the names.
I know you're never good with
I'm a
names. Why did
Newfoundlander. We
give
have
you this job?
I'm really good at the Newfoundland names, but
Oh,
I'm not
that's
so
good.
good at the other
It's
ones.
part of
So-
the entertainment. Keep
Yeah,
it going.
that's what it is. Just follow the link that was posted that I found shocking around. Is this recorded session be available? So once we finish this session, it will be available. It'll be available on the Laerdal landing site for the resource page. It's also going to be on our YouTube channel. Where else can it be? It's going to be inside of our
In the follow-up
HSL
emails?
simulation Facebook group.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we got our
All
Facebook group.
emails, Facebook group.
Yeah, so we're going to be in all those kind of places. So
But
easy-
everyone
easy to
registered
find us.
today will get it. for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, very cool. All right, so what else? Kelly Grit, could Laerdal make torso skin with the gold disc in the center anterior? So I think we just answered that one. You know what? It has been brought to the higher up attention. This is something we have to work with, Laerdal Norway and their product managers, and then it has to go through design concepts. So I don't know if they'll be going with gold pucks in 4 different anatomical locations. I don't know if they're going to make much change at all, because this is the positions that they've been using. And I know that the heart and stroke guidelines do can suggest anterior posterior positioning. But we can follow up with that and find out if it is a priority, if there's any ideas around it, or if that it's not hitting the priority scale yet. But we will forward this question on to our Laerdal product manager for SimMan 3G Plus and see if we can get an answer back, and including, I'm sorry, Nate, we're gonna get you for this one as
We're
well.
just gonna flood him with questions.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Another question, is there any discussion about upgrading older 3Gs to utilize the latest LEAP software? One issue we encountered in our lab is that every simulator we have, with the exception of the older 3G, uses the latest software. So we have to use separate instructional, I'm so sorry to hear the separate instructional PC patient monitor with 7.3. Thank you for any information. So you have a pre-2016 SimMan 3G. So thank you so much. The cool part is that the SimMan 3Gs are lasting longer than the manufacturer is suggest. Like they say that our mannequins last from anywhere from 8 to 10 years. The SimMan 3G is a solid, it's a solid rock out there, man. Like it's lasting longer. It's doing great in longevity terms. Now, the bad thing about it is that technology changes. So that motherboard has been switched out. And because the older motherboard that was running Windows XP can't handle Windows 10 or even Windows 7. So Windows 7 Enterprise solution, it can't handle that. So in order for your older SimMan 3G to get the newest software, he has to come back into shop and they do an upgrade on the motherboard. Now, in terms of cost, I would definitely reach out to my CE that can quote the cost. But this is not hundreds of dollars, this is thousands of dollars, but less than 10. So if you want to take your old SimMan 3G, you can get an upgraded motherboard for it, and that has to be returned to bench for that motherboard to be installed for the Laerdal. Now, if you knew a good friend or whatever that knew a little bit about stuff, I'm sure if your mannequin wasn't under warranty and all that kind of nice stuff, that they could probably work with you, but you'd have to find all the material. So the upgrade does take a lot of time, and then that's why it costs so much, because they're completely changing the motherboard inside your SimMan 3G. So I respect that our depot teams, this actually takes, this is not a couple hour fix. This is something that I believe they take a day or two. And they can probably chime in and let us know, and Scott Serino can let me know how long that actually takes. So that's really cool. All right, and moving on down.
One more, or what do you think?
Yeah, I can do one more, and then we'll address the rest of them. While I'm looking for one here, I just want to give a big shout out to Heather Thompson. It's Heather Thompson's birthday today. Heather Thompson works at Altor in Las Vegas, and she does a lot of the scheduling for our FSE teams and stuff like that. So it's her birthday today. She takes care of us. She books our flights. She books our hotels. So happy birthday. I didn't get her a gift, so I can't. I can only imagine what my next trip looks like.
Yeah, she's not going to book your next install.
Okay, so I got Harvey Parker. You're asking great questions, and this will be the last one. So he asks here, are there any plans for the simulator that can do a 12 lead? So I do like to hyper emphasize the 12 lead that's actually on your patient monitor. So the 12 lead is actually projected from your 3 lead that you have set, and there's actually some rhythms there that you can pick that has like inferior ST elevations. Or you can do lateral, and you can really play with, and you can actually see the reciprocal changes and all that kind of nice stuff in the 12 lead. And the other thing I like about that 12 lead is that it's crisp, which means it has no other hidden comorbidities or hidden like little things. And because I used to print off 12 leads from Google, and now and then I'd get this super keen student that come along and say, yeah, but there is a right ventricular Purkinje fiber that's out of whack or something. And I'd be like, super cool. But in my world in paramedicine, it's something we monitor but not treat. So we kind of stay away from some of that. So that's why I really like these 12 leads that are coming up there, because they're crisp, they're new, and they don't have any kind of hidden, delta waves and all this other fun stuff. So that's where we'll end that. Another good friend of ours too, Alyssa's birthday today too, is Mohsen Mahadi. He used to work as an FSE for our team, and I just want to give another shout out to him. Anybody else's birthday?
Yeah.
On anybody on the
Might
chat?
as well
Anybody
do the
birthday?
rounds.
All right.
Well, it's your birthday soon, Shane. You're
let me just go back to the chat. So that was the questions and answers. Can 3G essentially be converted to LiveShock? Oh, that's a good question. It is not available.
Sorry, who? Essential? Was that the question?
Yeah. So let me tell you who asked that. So Thomas Hagen. Can 3G essential be converted to LiveShock? I don't believe he can be right now. I do believe once SimMan 3, I don't even want to say that. That's another one that we can mention up the ranks and see if there is any thoughts about it. Again, as an FSC, I don't think I have a work instruction for installing LiveShock. The only one that I have a work instruction on right now that I'm doing in the field is the SimMan ALS ShockLink over to LiveShock.
Right.
So that one there I have work instructions for and can provide. A lot of the times we send it into depot, because when you upgrade that, you're going to need a ShockLink, because the actual ShockLink module goes inside of SimMan ALS, so it's no longer an external component.
Perfect.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I think everybody, there's still like about 50 people with us, so thank you. We're just babbling on.
Passion and motivation. It's not even Friday. One day away.
Yeah, one day away, and hopefully everyone has some amazing holiday plans. And please stay safe from any other variants that are coming out. But yeah, I hope you get to be with your family and loved ones, and we wish you happy holidays. And again, if you have any feedback for us specific to the webcast, future episodes,
make it better.
This one, how to make it
it's
better.
all about you guys. So let's try to flip it.
Open to hearing from you. If you want to email us your suggestions, actually this episode, Shane was really just getting bombarded with questions about the 3G plus, the LiveShock versus ShockLink questions. So as we can see, it was definitely popular because we had a lot of you on. So
we can do it again.
Answered. So we could do it again. We could do a part 2 because there's obviously a lot of things that we have to get back to everybody with. So we might as well get all those answers for you and come back.
Love all the comments, folks. We're gonna do this again, so stay tuned. We have a new year coming up, a new season 3 will be coming up for the HSL simulation webcast, where we're probably gonna get a new logo. We might even change our name, but hang tight. We will make this better and make this more about you guys and get some more tricks and tips out there on how to use our products. Alyssa, thanks so much for hanging out with me for the last little bit, and
always a pleasure.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.